Welcome to another episode of Hue I Do.
I'm Toniah.
And I'm Ashleigh. And I'm so excited because this is finally like the episode I've been trying to record where we're not just like talking to people through Zoom outside of Courtney. But it's okay. We have two special guests with us tonight to talk to us about wedding budgets, realistic wedding budgets, because sometimes, we get engaged and we just really don't know what things cost, or we don't have a full picture of like everything we need. So sometimes we're a little off. We might not know, kind of where to start and what can affect that cost and all of the good things. So this is going to be a good time. But anyway, we have two wonderful guests with us today. Guest A, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Leneille with Special Event Factory.
And guest B.
My name is Courtney Jackson. I'm with The Charming Details.
What do y'all do?
I am a floral designer, and I'm based in Alpharetta, Georgia, but we travel all over the country if need be.
What about you, Courtney?
I am a wedding planner. I'm based in Metro Atlanta. I do weddings all over Georgia, and I even do some weddings out in Michigan, where I'm from.
Nice. This is going to be a good episode. We have a lot to get into, but first, let's, figure out how was your day? How was your day, Courtney?
It was pretty busy today, driving around. I actually came from out by Cartersville. I drive all over Georgia, just meeting with clients and everything. And then I came home and got prepped for some weddings I got coming at the end of the month, so all that good stuff. So it's been pretty busy. This is the time in March where we start kicking off weddings, so this is when my schedule really starts picking up.
Okay. Good productive day. What about you, Leneille?
The same. March is usually a little bit slower, and it's a good slow, not a stressful slow, because I'm able to get caught up on emails, proposals, editing some things on our website, social media, calendar, prepping for the month. And then this is a good time to do styled shoots, maybe, working with other vendors on different small projects.
Okay. Good stuff.
So my day was lovely.
Oh, yeah.
You forgot about me? Oh, okay. My day was lovely. I didn't have a busy day. It's raining outside, but other than that, I'm blessed and highly favored.
All right now.
How was your day, Ashleigh?
Quiet, because nobody was at work.
Oh.
I mean, it was one of those perfect Wednesdays where lights were off because, folks weren't here, basically.
Gotcha.
So, working low lit conditions. But that's not, because the bills weren't paid. It's because that's how we prefer it. It's kind of, nice. And then with it raining, it was just kind of ambient.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. I got some stuff done, and I sent y'all over bridesmaids and stuff. Courtney, I forgot to tell you. So these girls won David's bridal instead of Zazzy. So
you act like it was our decision.
I was telling you, I gave y'all an option. I said you can stick with this or you can go with this.
Well, I chose I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Most people chose I don't care, and other people chose David's bridal, and nobody chose a Zazzy. So that meant,
I mean, with the coronavirus going around, things or production is slowing down. So
what did you say, Courtney?
What's the production time? That's my number one question for everybody.
Basically, because David's bridal, I don't think is really affected.
No, I don't think so, because I think they have a huge warehouse, right? I don't know.
In the United States.
Yeah, in the United States.
But a Zazzy has a production company or production facility in China.
Yeah.
So because of that, and because I read that because they have wedding dresses you can buy straight online, so similar to off the rack, there's been an increase in girls that don't have time to wait for their dresses to come back are just going there, which I think is interesting, because I'm like, why don't you just go there? Whatever. But yeah, so thank goodness David's bridal has basically the same color I like and options. So
Yeah,
So I
it's
guess
been
that's
really
a-
interesting to see how crisis going on, like a health crisis, has affected the wedding industry. Because this has affected me in more ways than one. With the bridesmaids' dresses, like I have a wedding coming up at the end of the month. Around 40 guests cannot attend, including the bride's grandparents, because they're coming from China. So it's just been really interesting.
Oh no!
Wow.
Can they stream it or something?
They're gonna have a videographer, so they're just gonna send the video to family.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot China has weird internet rules too. So never mind. Oh,
That's sad.
it is. Well, budgets. I mean, I don't know how to transition into this.
Yeah, there was no way to
like,
transition.
Speaking of,
Well, we are talking about weddings, and budgets. Budgeting is, I feel like, the number one factor, or the number one thing that goes into a wedding. So.
Well, yeah, and you're cheap, but you're not saying that because you're cheap. But okay. It's very true. We were talking to a bride a few weeks ago, and she didn't realize how much everything costs until she started planning. And so she had a budget, a quote-unquote budget, when she started, but then when she started planning, she realized that was unrealistic and then had to make a more realistic budget. And I feel pretty similar because I think my initial budget is probably... what I thought was twice or like half the amount of like what my wedding is probably going to end up being. Mm-hmm. And I mean, every bride we've talked to so far, when we ask them, have you stayed in budget? They all laugh. So, or they're like, yeah, at the end of the budget, like the high scale. And I think that's just because people don't know how much stuff costs. I think the knot honestly got these girls out here looking a mess because the knot puts out this study every year and they say this is how much weddings are, and they say try to break it down by vendor, and it's real cute. It does not, in my opinion, accurately break down vendor costs, but that's just me coming from a person who's going to probably have over 200 people at her wedding in Atlanta. So I know that there are a lot of factors into all of these things, and that's part of what we're going to get into, or a lot of what we're going to get into tonight. So
yes.
So yeah, I mean, okay. But before we do all that, we generally ask our guests that come on the show, how did they get into the wedding industry? So let's start there. Leneille, we'll start with you. How did you get into the wedding industry?
I became affiliated with the wedding industry when I was in college. I decided to choose a minor that was hospitality administration. And with hospitality administration, I was taking a few courses just to check it out. And then I learned so much about the industry that I wanted to learn more. Mm-hmm. So we learned about meeting planning, trade show planning. I know how to sell trade show booths, which is a dying trend. But there's still trade shows and conferences going on all over. It just wasn't exciting for me. It didn't allow me to be as creative as I am. So this was back in 2008 when I was about to graduate. I decided to find a niche market in the hospitality industry. So I didn't want to work at a country club. I didn't want to work at a hotel. And I found a market that more aligned with my design style. So it was wedding planning, wedding and event planning. So I was the person in college. Of course, I was 21, who was planning everyone's birthday parties, dinners, all sorts of events. And then I had my grandmother was getting married again, and she wanted me to come down to Florida. So I was planning a destination wedding. And that was very interesting because my family's Caribbean, so we have all the specific food requests. I had to source a venue, get the hotel room blocks, and I know a lot about that part of it from school, like how to do that part. So it's more of like education based instead of a lot of people become planners and stuff because they did really well planning their own weddings, or they helped other people plan their events and kind of found their way. But I went through the school route. As far as floral design, I had a bride who did not have a florist, And she says, well, can you make some bouquets for me? Just some simple bouquets and boutonnieres. So YouTube University became my best friend. And I decided to do it for her. I did it for her, and everybody was about to pass out. They were like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I was like, okay, girl. I was like, if you like it, I love it, But I actually did a lot better than I thought I did. And so I actually liked that part a lot better than the planning, because as a planner, I was very responsible for all parties, all vendors. You get hit with a lot of questions, and you have to be present a little bit more than I was able to with my kids. And so actually 4 years ago now, I decided that I did not want to do the planning anymore. I want to just stick to the floor and event design, because I actually like setting the table from the linen, the chairs. I like talking high, low centerpieces, all the stuff that goes on a table and in the room. I like talking about that part more than what time the vendors are supposed to arrive, that kind of thing. I mean, it's very important. Mm-hmm. So because I was a planner at first, I do know how to communicate with planners, and I know the information they need. But for me, that's how I ended up as a floral designer, was through being a planner. So I just kind of snaked my way out of that category and into floral design. And here I am 4 years later.
I love it.
Yes.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, because whenever I saw that degree, I only thought hotel industry.
Me too.
Yes, I would have never thought that you could go that route. But you learn a lot about planning in general, and I guess like the industry in itself. So.
Yeah, Georgia State University actually has a really good hospitality program. It's actually one of the top because it's under the business school. So you learn the business of hospitality. They go all the way from how it started. They tell you about working in a country club, front of the house, back of the house. I mean, I could go and work as a manager in probably any hotel or resort that I want, but I don't want to. But they tell you about the business stuff. So that's why when a lot of people say that they're hiring someone who doesn't know about the business, they don't necessarily have longevity because they don't think about the accounting part of it, staff management, all that kind of thing. It's not all timelines and notebooks and binders, it's knowing how to manage an actual business. So that's why they put it under the business school.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and they have a lot of programs out there for people now that they didn't have then. I mean, I graduated college, 12 years ago. They have programs at Kennesaw State. They have things online. They have, and it's more targeted to weddings and event planning. But there are a lot of certification programs women can take, or people can take for planner to become a planner. And not to say you have to, but it just helps take away some of those bumps in the road that I had to find. I hear a lot of people had to find out the hard way.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say my sister wants to get into event planning, but she is working for some hotel, I can't even think, and hates it because she doesn't feel like she's really getting any experience there. It's, I want to have a conference here. She's doing like that level stuff. And I don't know if it's because maybe just that feels boring and it's maybe not as glitzy or glamorous. But yeah, she could just go back to school or like find a certification. Maybe.
Yeah, and definitely, because I thought, remember the movie The Wedding Planner with J-Lo? I thought that was amazing back then. Everyone thinks the planner or like, the Princess, what was the Princess Bride? Oh, that movie, what was it called? Princess Diaries. And I thought wedding planning was all Cinderella. It's hard work. These men and women across the world have to deal with a lot. And it's not for everyone.
Right.
It's a lot of long days, late nights, a lot of managing adults. It's really easy to manage children. But when you have to manage a room full of, Courtney will tell you, it is not easy. And you have to be someone who's extremely assertive, but kind and gracious and positive, because you have to keep everything going. So definitely it's not something to just say, oh, I plan my wedding, so I'm going to be a planner. Absolutely not. And I wish they had more steps to take before you can just say, I'm going to be a planner, because you can't say, I'm going to be a doctor.
No, not at all.
But that's neither here nor there. But I think that, and it's okay if you didn't go. I'm not saying you have to get a degree, but definitely take the time to understand how it works. So definitely interning, shadowing, with other people. Like photographers have second shooter, just work you have to work in the field to figure out how it works.
Exactly.
Over and over.
Okay.
All right, Courtney.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the wedding industry?
Yes, a lot of what Leneille was resonating with me. So I was doing events prior to wedding planning. I was an event planner, and I was on the corporate side, like your sister. I was doing events for a university here in Atlanta. I was doing events for a nonprofit company, and that was good. I was able to raise a lot of money for like the nonprofit. It helped me learn a lot, but it didn't really trigger my heartstrings, as I would say. And I would say, like a lot of brides, from my own wedding is how I got into wedding planning. I enjoyed the planning process. And I was like, after the wedding over, I was like, oh my God, there's nothing for me to do anymore. What am I about to do? I need to do something. So I reached out. I was cold calling planners like, hey, I really want to intern and learn from you guys. And I was able to land an internship that I did for an entire year. And gave me a lot of experience, got to see weddings on the higher end side. And I was very thankful for that, to start off in like a higher end company and seeing how it works from that side. So I internship for a year. I was towards that end of the year, I was internship for like 2 different planners and got to see the experience of like different venues around Atlanta, seeing how different people work, all that good stuff. And then from one of the wedding planning companies, they actually asked me to write up a resume, and they passed my resume along, and they actually gave me a paying job with a venue. So that was like really awesome. And then with that venue, I got to start learning from like the catering side and the venue perspective. So it was like really awesome to start seeing all these different vendors, their different perspectives, and what they really care about. So that was awesome. And I even started training their day of wedding coordinators. They have around 20 girls, so I was training any new girl that they were hiring. And then from there, I was like, I really want to start my own wedding planning company. I really enjoy this. So that's how I started for wedding planning.
Awesome. Well, I am so grateful to the both of you because you two are the vendors that I'm working with for my October wedding. And I mean, there are some vendors that I have regrets or, I second guess sometimes, but you two are definitely not those vendors. So, again, I am grateful to both of you, and I'm so happy that y'all are on the episode tonight to get us together about the cost of a wedding, because y'all would know how much things cost. I only know how much mine costs, but you've seen some things, you know more. So in 2018, did not release this. I think that's the latest one that's out. I don't think the 2019 one is out yet. Yeah, they have average wedding vendor costs. So go for it.
Okay, so earlier, I actually totaled everything up, and so I think I'll go ahead and tell you all the actual amount that I totaled up, and this is with 150 guests. So I totaled up $55,026 roughly. However, yes, because because I subtracted some things, because there's things on this list that, a lot of people don't utilize. And so like musicians or, let's see, there was somebody else.
Instead of musician, they have a DJ.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And so I didn't exclude them from the list, but in total, it came up to $55,026. However, I'm not saying that that's how much your wedding's gonna cost, but this is what I totaled up. So anyways, let me go ahead and go through the list. So for a ceremony venue, they came up with $2,382.
Okay, let's stop there. No. I want you to read it all off, and then we gotta remember what you said. Let's.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. ceremony venue. Do y'all have any thoughts on that? Like being $2,000?
$2,382 to be exact.
My bad. Yeah.
Well, for me, most of my brides are either getting married at their church or they're doing a venue that is both their ceremony and reception. And the church might not be charging them that much. It might vary church to church. So that one is really going to vary. I know back home in Michigan, we used to do 2 different spaces. So it really is going to vary city to city, kind of about what type of venue spaces are available. But here in Atlanta, a lot of my brides are getting married at the same place that they're having their reception.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And I mean, as I'm looking at this list, and not to take away from what you're doing, Toniah, I see they have reception venue on here as $15,439. So if we're going off what you're saying, people are having, like, they're getting married at the same place, then that's around $17,000 for a venue.
And I kind of...
that,
like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, because that's not what I'm seeing when...
You're not? I mean, when I was looking up venues, because I had a little spreadsheet that I created, that somebody else created, but I kind of remixed it for myself. But to kind of see, like, what are all the costs with these respective venues? What would be needed? Like, what's the deposit? What's the food and alcohol? Do I have to stick with them? Like, figuring all that out. And there were several places that are like $10,000, $15,000, and like you'd have to at least put half of that down or like pay your bar part as the deposit.
Gotcha. So when I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking about the venue. Like, so how much does it cost to rent this venue? Yes. I'm not even thinking about like everything that like the what you the other stuff.
But some of these places require you to though.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't want to call them out because, but there are several venues that I was just like, oh, they are gorgeous, in love with because they photograph well. Of course, it's just stuff I've seen on Instagram. But looking at them looking at their nitty gritty and their pricing sheet, it's basically like you have to spend $5,000 or $6,000 plus the bar deposit, and the bar deposit could be like another $4,000 or it's another $2,000, or next thing you know, you're paying basically like $10,000 or $15,000 for this venue, and that's just it. It's just a venue.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk to the experts. Yeah, let's talk to the experts because we don't know what we talking about.
So I haven't been in that world in a while, to be completely honest. Which is the fun part of my job. But now, like when we get an inquiry from a floral designer or some of your vendors, and your venue is so-and-so, that tells you 2 things about the client. If the venue fee is expensive and the catering, if they require you to use their catering, we know that there's certain groups that manage several venues, so they require you to use their catering. That's a flag that says they either don't have a lot of money to pay for their florals or decor because they had to pay all these fees, or they do. It's kind of like catch-22. You're like, oh, wow, they're getting married there. Then you're like, oh, man, I know they ain't got no money. Because, like, I heard they charge you like there's some venues in Atlanta that just charge you straight out $5,000. I know a venue that charges a $5,000 ceremony fee. Point blank, period, just to get married there.
Wow.
Okay, and so way back when I got married, it wasn't that high, but it was because it wasn't in the city and da 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 da. But that's a lot of money, and I don't care who you are, just to have your ceremony somewhere, $5,000 is a lot of money, and so for Atlanta in itself. Right. But there, I'll tell people I'm not in a position to discuss anyone else's rates, or like complain about it and just move on. So I think, like you said, doing your due diligence, getting a spreadsheet and just putting everything down and seeing what's important to you, and say, if the ceremony, I want a bomb looking ceremony space, but there's some people who get married in their grandma's church and they don't care about it. We've been there as well. And those pictures never hit online. It's like it never happened, but the ceremony wasn't important to that client. It was the reception, or it was the photographer was really important. So they took their picture somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say, pick what's the most important thing to you, or I ask the client, what's the most important thing to you in your whole wedding scheme of things?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's your reception and you want to make sure the food is or the music is good, then that's where you put your money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, if the florals and decor look good, they're not going to look good everywhere, to be completely transparent. But we can do our best. It just depends on where you pick, But if your ceremony fee is $2,000 and your reception fee is $15,000, that's $17,000 right off the bat that you haven't decorated or fed anyone.
Right.
Mm-mm.
So unless the client says there's no budget, then you automatically know, okay, she's gonna squeeze. That's why, she's gonna squeeze it out of me for you're gonna get the hydrangea rose package or the dreaded. My mama friend gonna do the bouquets if you can do everything else, That's what happens. So we know on the vendor side when a client says they're getting married so we kind of know
like what's up.
What's up? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What you say, Courtney?
Well, like Neil said, you definitely have to do a spreadsheet, and I do a spreadsheet with a lot of my clients when we're comparing venues, because this venue might include a bar and it might include a chair rental fee that you have to rent from them. I mean, they might have their chairs there and you think they're free, but there's like one venue, they're charging the chair, the pad, the napkin. So you got to consider all of that. So writing every little bit down. If they have even a complimentary greenery backdrop wall, and you want that, write that down when you're touring, because you want to know how much will it cost. And even maybe looking at, because a lot of these venues, they put on their website who their preferred caterers are. Maybe jump into that caterer's website, because these are going to be your top two people you spend on is your venue and your caterer. Maybe even jumping over to that caterer, seeing how much their average per person price might be, including that into your price for that venue. And that can kind of help you estimate how much that venue might cost you at the end of the day. Spreadsheets, I'm always praising about spreadsheets because they're really helpful when you want to compare a venue side by side. Because like one venue here in Atlanta, you got to bring in everything versus one that might be all inclusive. Well, when you write everything down, does it equal out, or does it come out one is more expensive than the other? So I think writing all that down is what people should do.
It makes sense. So for those listening, spreadsheet, start there. Look at the caterer. See what caterers are preferred and how much it costs, because that will be the gotcha. And don't be afraid to look outside of their preferred caterers, because you might be able to save money that way. Speaking of catering.
Oh, there's a fee for that as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, even if you use outside catering fee and you use outside caterer, it's still cheaper than using their people.
That's me. That's
Yeah.
my story.
Yeah.
So speaking about catering, so in this same article, $70 per head, per person. $70 is a whole lot of money. Like I think even if you go to like Capitol Grill, I mean, $70, can get you a whole steak, like top line, Granted, I don't eat steak anymore, but you know what I mean.
Like a glass of wine, or
like
steak and scallops, or just a steak.
No, maybe like the steak's probably like $50, But anyways, that's beside this point.
Okay.
But
a good dinner.
Yeah, a good dinner. $70. So is this realistic?
So for 150 people, you got it down as
10,500 for 150. Yeah.
For 150 people.
That's
yeah,
cheap.
70. Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's
cheap in the scheme of things. That's cheap. Yeah, that's cheap in the scheme of things when it comes to a venue. When you think about hiring a caterer, they are not like a restaurant where they have food all the time. They have these relationships. These are sometimes caterers who just do one wedding a month, or they may not do a lot of weddings, and they don't necessarily, they have accounts where they have access to these catering kitchens to cook, but they have to pay for that. I mean, I heard some of these caterers, they have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just to cook in that specific kitchen.
Gotcha.
And then they have staff. You have to pay people actually more than a waiter, because your traditional waiter, where they can get minimum wage. When I used to do banquet serving, we would get $25 an hour, and that was at Holiday Inn Express. So because they pay you, including the tip, the gratuity, they pay. And some of these weddings you go, they have a lot of servers.
Gotcha.
So think about each of the servers. They pay you for the entire wedding time. So that's like 6 to 8 hours. So you think, like, if they have 10 servers or 150 people, they probably would have more than 10 servers. You have to pay those people well, insurance, and you have a banquet captain, and then you have your bartenders. Like, they have to pay all those people's salary for that night. And insurance for, they have to have a $1 million policy, sometimes more. So, like, it's a little bit different than a restaurant. But some restaurants have ballrooms.
True.
I don't know if we can say, but some restaurants have check into that. If you want to knock down some of the costs, then check and see if your restaurant, a local restaurant, has a reception area, like a ballroom you can use. That way, they already have tables and chairs. You know, they already have linen. It may not be the fanciest, but if you're a budget-friendly bride, it's like, my most important thing is not the venue part of it. My most important thing is the food, and I know that XYZ has good food all the time. Then get married there if you can. If you can do a restaurant buyout, then do it. And then you can focus your money on your photographer or your ceremony venue or whatever else, because that's another way if you want to, like, kind of circumvent that kind of stuff. Just have it at a restaurant, because your caterer is going to knock you upside the head when you go to a venue that's not set up, because they have to bring in the heating, warming oven. Everything is portable. It's like bringing a whole restaurant somewhere else, because most of these venues don't have a full kitchen. You don't want to see what's back there, but so they have to bring in all that stuff. I see the big major companies, they come in with like 30 people and they're loading them out. So just think about all that staff and different things they have to pay for, and then you can understand a little bit more why it costs so much. And then some people forget that a restaurant is an option, or a hotel where you get the trio, you know, people can stay there, then you have your food, it's hotel food, I mean, you know, but, and then, you know, you have your ceremony. So those may be some options where if you want to kind of cut that in half a little bit, then go that way.
I guess when you put it that way, it makes sense.
Yeah. What about you, Courtney?
For me, I love all my caterers because they're my setup crew. Catering do the setup and the breakdown. It's not us wedding planners or the florist. The catering team, a lot of times. You might come across a venue that does the setup for you, but a lot of times, if you're doing a room flip.
For me, I love all my caterers because they're my setup crew. Catering do the setup and the breakdown. It's not us wedding planners or the florist. It's the catering team a lot of times. You might come across a venue that does the setup for you, but a lot of times, if you're doing a room flip, who's moving those tables and chairs is your catering crew. So they're charging for that, and it's built in their pricing. Catering, it incorporates the plate. They offer plating, they offer linen, they offer these other things. So that might be what comes in at the end of the day on your invoice, are those other elements or those rental items you might be getting. So those are things to consider. But I would say, you know, you got to just think about all that they do. They really are the lifeline of weddings to me. And that's not because I've worked with a catering team before. It's just I'm thankful for them, seeing all that they do setup-wise for my weddings and being very proactive and getting all that done. So that's what I have to say about catering. They charge what they charge because they're doing a lot. They're doing more than food. They're bringing in a lot of rentals. You guys mentioned about when a venue doesn't have a kitchen, they might build a whole kitchen in a tent. I've seen that a couple times now. They're building up a tent, having those hot ovens in there, and making sure your food is prepped fresh and in the spaces that they have. Because I did one wedding where it was like a massive church, and the kitchen was very, very small. So they had to work with what they have and they were able to bring it together. We did pipe and drape to hide all the catering going on behind there, all that good stuff. And I mean, that was included in the quote, was that pipe and drape. So just got to consider, your venue, what you got going on there for the catering wise, like how much space they have and those logistical components that they'll be contributing to.
All right, so I guess I won't be too cheap then.
I mean, you can't with the food.
No, I guess you can't.
And another thing I thought about, that could also be the determining factor in a bride going plated versus buffet.
Mm-hmm.
And I know family style is, I guess, starting to creep up. I haven't really seen black folks do it, but buffet, I mean, we love a buffet, and it's honestly because it's cheap. Like, it's cheaper. You don't have as many people that have to, like, you have less staff. So if you're working with a chef that had to hire a crew, because it's not like a full-blown catering company, then that person might not have to hire as many people. So that can, that's, I think, part of why the buffet cost is cheaper than the plated cost. Anyway, all right. So let's get into the aesthetics of it all. Like,
okay,
come on now. Let's
talk about the florists.
Yeah, because they're saying
I'm feeling attacked. I feel like this is a setup.
Low key, it is. But yeah, so they're saying 2,411. Now, I'm not quite sure what all, goes into that $2,411, but yeah. So what do you think about that?
I have a new way of pricing that helps clients a little bit better now. I usually say $40 to $50 a person to start off with. And people are like, oh, it's a little easier to hit them over the head that way.
Right.
Oh, that'll be $5,000 minimum, but if you do 40 to 50 a person, that should take you through ceremony, cocktail, and reception.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference between a florist and a floral designer. So this may be traditional florists.
Gotcha.
Who do your traditional arrangements, and they have the big floral shops, and they can just hit you with some boom, boom, boom arrangements. Here you go. They drop it off, like literally drop it off and leave. And then your catering company puts it out on the table.
Mm.
They give you your bouquets, your centerpieces, and that's it. There's no candles. There's no installations. There's no linens. There's no extra, bells and whistles. They're giving you simple boutonnieres, bouquets, and centerpieces and calling it a day. So that might be what they're talking about with a florist, which is still probably going to be a little bit more than that. But there's if a bride is saying, my budget is this, and I cannot spend $1 over that, most floral designers will send them to a traditional florist and with a shop that you can just walk in and place an order. It's no shade. There's no animosity. We're really big on community over competition. And so, because I did get married and I know that part, I did not care. I don't show my wedding pictures to any prospective client because I was not a floral designer's dream client at all. Now I would not want to be anywhere near me when it came time for that, because now I know more and I want more for my looks.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kind of told her a color and kind of said do whatever. I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
Some clients are like that. So I would say $40 to $50 a person, and be mindful of what you see on Pinterest may not be in your budget.
Mm-hmm.
If it's anything that's hanging, may require a rigging system.
Mm-hmm.
We have to rent those items. A high ladder. Someone has to get up there and we need extra time at your venue to put anything up, or extra bodies in the building. So each body in the building costs more. So, or anything on the wall, or any sort of creative thing that you come with on Pinterest, it's gonna cost. Things that you probably see you can't do, yeah, we can do it, but anything that you probably can't do is gonna cost you more. Just because I had to learn how to do it, I had to attend a workshop to learn. I had to train staff to learn. You know what I'm saying? So it's a process behind it. So if you budget $40, $50 a person starting for traditional style arrangements, that should, like I said, get you through ceremony, cocktail hour, and reception. And think about it and bridal party. if you come to me with 18 bridesmaids, you're going to pay more than $2,400. It's going to be for all of that. And then, no, we can't use those bouquets for your reception because cocktail hour, you're taking pictures with those bouquets.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't snatch it out of, we're gone. So sometimes I stay, sometimes it just depends on the room flip and that kind of thing. But, you would want your rooms to be set when you came back from cocktail hour. You don't want to see us running around sweating to put things. You don't want to see. We should be gone. That's why I call my girls flower fairies. You don't see fairies. The tooth fairy, you don't see them, but they make it happen and they're gone. So that's kind of what we, promote on our end. I can't speak for any other company, but for the most part, most of my floral designer friends, we're usually gone by the time the reception starts. And then we magically reappear at midnight and to break everything down. We get 2 hours to set up, 1 hour to break down, which is shocking for some venues. If you want more dramatic installations and stuff, you're going to have to increase your budget for the venue rental because we need more time to do that. So it's just about people being educated on how it works and just asking, and say, and if you're open to changing your budget, then be okay when the invoice comes through, because sometimes we just say, I have to send an invoice anyway. You're going to have to know. Some designers don't do line by line. We do line by line. So you can see, I'm completely transparent with my clients. I know designers say, oh no, we just send in a proposal. Yeah, you wouldn't want anybody doing that to you. That'll be $18,000. Like, for what? I just asked for why,
Explain.
Yeah, explain, please. I try to do it from a client's perspective all the time. And I don't think I'm going to change that unless it's a really huge order, then maybe, because you don't want to get, the back and forth nickel and diming. Yeah. But for the traditional wedding client, for 200 or less, they want, kind of what clients are asking for, high, low, whatever. And you're going to get an invoice with line by line so you can see why it costs that much. Preston Bailey, one of the biggest floral designers in the country, does line by line.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And he tells you that because people need to know why it costs that much.
Right.
Simple. You go to the store and you go to the grocery store, you know why your bill is $300 at Target. You know exactly why.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to. Yeah. I don't see why a lot of people don't do it, but we have our reasons. So like I said, I'm in no position to discuss anybody else's practices. I just know about what we do, especially at Factory. But so just be mindful that what you look for on Pinterest may cost more than what you anticipated. Have the people who are paying for the florals at the meeting with the floral designer, because there's no purpose of you hitting your dad with a $10,000 floral invoice when you know fully well that he's not going to pay that. My dad did not play that with me.
Yeah.
So, that's what we're taught in the floral world, to have the people who are paying for it in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So that they can understand how this works.
Makes sense.
But yeah.
Makes sense. Courtney?
So I'm going to speak from the bride side when I was a bride and what I did. Leneille, don't judge me. And I would talk about the planner side that I see now that I wish I knew back when I was a bride. So when I was a bride, I saw on Pinterest this flower curtain. It was carnations. It was hanging curtains of flowers. And I was like, oh, my God, I have to have this at my wedding. So I talked to my florist, and I was showing her all these pictures. She was like, yeah, that's going to be just $2,000 just for that flower curtain. I was like, oh, but it's carnations. What you mean? So I didn't consider the labor of it. Even I was just looking at it was carnations, and it looked pretty. And it was like a beautiful flower curtain. Why would carnations cost that much, But you really got to consider, from the planner side now, the labor of things. Like, that was a huge undertaking. When I look back now at that picture, it was a huge undertaking that she would have to do in 2 hours, because that's all my venue would let her come in. She would have to get that up in 2 hours. She would need a huge team, and it was just a very intensive task, and things we got to just consider on our florist part of what all they got to do to make it happen. On the planner side, a lot of things I tell my brides when they show me like different Pinterest things is the season of your wedding. A lot of the seasonal flowers that you might have in that bouquet, they might be way off your season. That would definitely change your cost, or the flower might just not even be available to you. Things like that. So I think it's very important to talk with your florist and get educated about what they're saying. You really got to listen to them because they know what that flower might cost, or if it's available in your season, or how to make it happen in your budget. Like I have one bride, we're just going to upgrade her budget to the flowers that she wants. Everybody else might get different filler flowers, that still go with her design and everything like that. She really wanted this certain flower, so yeah, we made it happen for her bouquet. We just didn't do it across the board on every table, on every other bouquet and all that type of thing. So brides should consider the alternative when they speak to their florist and what the florist suggests.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like one thing you said, Leneille, about when people come to you, you break it down by per person, because I think a lot of times, and I know I definitely probably did this like in the beginning, I did not consider like the flowers being more than just the centerpieces. Like every person that you invite is another table, which is another centerpiece that you need, which is, maybe another like high boy decoration for the cocktail hour. It's like another, like even with the bridal party, like you were saying, that's another like boutonniere you need, another like bouquet, or like depending on the parents, or if you want, something for the grandmas, something for the aunties, something for this, something for that. That's more that you have to pay for because you're paying for extra flowers. Like it's not just the centerpieces on the table, it's the cake table. It's like if you want to be like how Bron said, putting in the bathroom, things like that. Like it's there's just so much more, and it's like you really got to break it down and think about it per person the same way you would think about the food. So, or the menu, so
flowers is a lot. Before I got into it, I didn't know. And your floral design is actually also a really good negotiator. So I have warehouses where I get my flowers from, but I make them like, okay, we have this budget and you have to make it in this budget. Or like I have this bride, she really likes peonies. Can you make that happen? Peonies are grown in Alaska. So we have to get that stuff shipped in, so like this bride wants this, and I need this. So like I'm literally negotiating with people in different, sometimes cities. I get a lot of my flowers from Miami when they had that whole thing last year. Last year was horrible. There was a protest in Ecuador where a lot of the flowers come from. You were not getting them, or they went really high on the flowers. And clients had already paid for their florals, so now you're trying to negotiate, and there's no negotiation. This flower that usually costs 97 cents is now $4. You have to pay it. So it's coming out of our labor fee or extra, anything else.
Right.
So then you're telling people who you already scheduled to work that day, y'all can't come in because I got to pay for the client's flowers.
Yeah. Wow.
So like that was something we had to deal with last year when they have hurricanes in Miami. A lot of my stuff comes from Miami. You're not getting them, or they're going to come in looking like trash. So you're going to have to find it locally. That's why a lot of designers learn how to forage greenery, meaning going to the bushes. That's not my ministry. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm from ATL. So your girl's not going to go forage for anyone. I will pay and rinse. I want it to be thoroughly rinsed before it hits my van. But some people have to do that because they want to cut corners here and there for their client. So there's a lot of things I did not know when I sent my taxes into my account. And she was like, "You spent those many thousands on flowers?" I'm like, "Yes, flowers are expensive."
Right.
So the whole $2,400 thing for a wedding, I don't know what that is. But not here. No.
And I wonder, did they? No, they didn't say like the estimated costs. Because I remember, like, one time I saw one of these breakdowns, and it was, like, for a wedding with so many guests. But they didn't do that here, so.
They didn't.
Okay, let's move to the photographer and videographer.
It's your fave.
Yeah, this these are definitely two vendors that I really wanted to, I really just wanted to have. After talking to my videographer, he was saying that a lot of times people book the videographer like 3-4 months out because they don't see it as a priority. With that being said, going with the cost, because everybody wants a photographer.
Of course.
That's standard.
Of course. So photographer, they have $2,679. And for the videographer, they have $2,021. And yeah, I feel like this is too low.
I do too.
Especially for the videographer. For the videography, I kind of feel like they're a little bit more than the photographer, to be honest. But I don't know.
Yeah. We've been noticing people that have been going to like new folks or like
you can have people newer photographers who cost less. There's a new thing now photographers are doing. It may not be a new thing, but new thing that I'm hearing about where you'll pay for a photography company to do your wedding, but it'll be a different photographer who'll come out and shoot, and then they get the same. You get the same editing style as the photography company, and it may cost a little bit less.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's a new thing. So you may not get this top photographer. You can still hire the top photographer company, but it won't be them at your wedding. It'll be like someone who shoots just like them, use the same equipment, and then they edit them on the back end with the same editing style.
Gotcha.
I've heard of some planners that do that.
That shoot?
No. But like
nobody.
Say there's Celebrity Planner X.
Oh.
Not to say names.
Yeah.
But, like, you want your wedding done by Celebrity Planner X, but you don't really have Celebrity Planner X money, but you can go for one of his or her assistants or, like, somebody on their team.
Yeah.
So it's like you can say that I had a Celebrity Planner X wedding, but it was really coordinated or planned by Tiffany. Tiffany is not Celebrity Planner X, but she works for Celebrity Planner X.
Yeah,
so
makes sense. Yeah,
that makes sense.
That's the thing that I've heard of photographers that they did, and I was like, oh, I mean, I'm not hating. I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
but as long as the pictures look, similar, same editing style, then
who cares?
That's actually a benefit for the bride,
exactly,
price wise. So I don't know.
Go, Courtney.
Yeah, I was saying I actually had a friend last year. She did that, and wedding came. Her pictures are beautiful, so some people are choosing that option. There's companies that you're hiring the company, and you might get the same exact editing style that they do for everybody, but you just might not know maybe 30 days, 60 days out who is actually going to be the photographer for your wedding. So I've seen that option, or you can do the independent photographer that has their own company. One thing that I'm hearing about lately that people are doing to help with cost, they might cut it off on the front end or the back end of weddings to save money. So like they might not want to pay for the photographer to stay from the getting ready all the way to the sparkler departure. They might just pay for you to be at the getting ready, and then you end after I've done my dances with my parents. So you got the important pieces to me, but you're not going to stay for the rest of the night. So I've actually encountered that a couple times where people were doing that to get a photographer that they really wanted.
About that, like, folks not wanting the whole day. I mean, granted, like, when I was looking, I would notice, like, oh, you could, have it for 6 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours or whatever. But I never, like, really processed what that meant, So, I mean...
But I like that option.
I also wanted to say, please remember to include, to the brides, please remember to include these said photographers and videographers and the planners in the timeline for food. Give them a time to eat during your wedding.
Yeah.
I have a few planners who say that this is when I tell the photographers when they can eat. And that makes sense because a lot of times we're eating random things in weird places because we weren't given a meal or we were given. I mean, you'd be surprised where we eat. I mean, I'm eating in hallways with hands. I mean, because you're about to faint. So
right.
It'd be really nice with all these vendors if you can include that cost in your catering budget for your vendor meals and tell them when to eat. So I've seen a couple who ate. They took their couple pictures before the wedding, and then they so they could eat during cocktail hour, the bride and groom, and that's when the photographers were eating as well.
Oh.
So they did all their pictures before the wedding. It was fairly new concept to me because, traditional ones, like, I don't want to see it, it's bad luck. Like, right.
Yeah.
When it comes, it's a timeline. So
yeah.
I've seen people do that. And then that's when the photographers and video, everyone was like, oh, Lord, we can eat. And they were like, you need to eat now, too. I was like, fine with me. I'm eating. And, as you wish, ma'am. If you insist, I'm going to eat now. So that's a good thing to include these said photographers and videographers and their assistants. Like, ask them, how many people do you come with, whatever, because you're paying them a lot of money, but sometimes people forget that they are human and they need to eat. So they're shooting for 10 to 12 hours.
Right.
They got to have a time. And that's eat to eat.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're not saying lobster and caviar, but,
And check, I mean, like, some of these contracts will actually say, like, by signing this, you are going to feed me and my person that I bring with me or my team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also on the catering side, like, you have the, sometimes they'll do, like, vendor meals, which might not necessarily be the same thing everybody else is eating, but it's something because the vendors have to eat, like, and they don't want to just stick with, like, granola bars or, like, a bag of Doritos. Like, that's not going to sustain them for
You'd be surprised.
The duration.
They need a lunch break too.
Right.
Yeah. If you see a vendor eating in the hallway or in the lobby area, that's because nobody, gave them a place to be or a plate of food.
Goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like to set this up on the back end for my clients. So I do it I don't even tell them I'm doing it. I make sure that we have a spot for the vendors to go and break and all that good stuff because that's important. And that's another thing to consider in your budget. Because a lot of times my clients actually do bands. Bands have about 10 members. That's 10 people you need to feed. That's going to be added on your catering costs. So, just things you got to think about.
Goodness gracious. Okay.
Yeah.
Not a band, child.
So on top of your 150, you better include plus 20, plus 30.
Yeah.
If you're doing a band, I would say, because I have a wedding coming up, they're going to have 19 vendors meals, and they have a band. When you have a DJ, I mean, that's only one guy, and maybe he has an assistant, so you might be more around 10 to 12 people that you need to feed, vendor meal-wise, on top of your guest count.
Okay.
And it's like sometimes it's a whole nother table.
Oh, yeah. Which means more flowers.
Mm-hmm.
The vendor table can use a candle or something.
Yeah, they can.
Okay. If I know you don't want to.
Yeah. Finna just throw it out with no linens, just a bare, like, a wooden table from the back. They rolled out the church basement or whatever. That old wooden round.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's now move into the wedding coordinator or event planner costs.
Yes. Okay. So for a wedding coordinator, Courtney's excited about this part. So the wedding coordinator / event planner, $2,002. How does that sound?
What say you?
Courtney,
this is on you.
So there's 3 tiers to wedding planning. Like, you have your wedding day management / day of coordinators. I don't believe in day of coordination. You can't just hop in the day of. And if somebody's telling you they could do that, don't trust them. Okay? So there's a wedding day management tier, and that's just maybe coming in a couple weeks, maybe a month or 2 out, and assisting you on your wedding day. Then you have the partial planning tier. That's when I'm kind of helping you sort out logistical things. I'm touching on things a little bit more, then just coming in closer to the wedding day. I might even be helping you find some vendors, things like that. Then you have full planning. That's where I'm helping you top to bottom. And I might even start before you even have a venue selected, okay, with the full planning. That's not a realistic budget for a full planner. A lot of times planners might charge percentages. That's when I'm charging you a percentage rate of your overall wedding budget. So that will look very different than, I would say, $2,000 versus the flat rate planner that might just charge you, hey, this would be my flat rate. If we go over so many hours, it might go up a little bit. From the market rates that I've seen in Atlanta, that might only be for the wedding day management tier, based on the market rates I'm seeing in 2020 for Atlanta. Okay, so it's going to look very different, though, for somebody in Kalamazoo, Michigan. That's where I went to college. Random city, I know. That's where I went to college. So it might look very different what they're charging there for wedding day management. And that's just because the clientele amount. I mean, how many weddings are happening? In Atlanta, there's a ton of weddings happening in October, okay? A ton. Every venue might be kicking out weddings Thursday through Sunday, morning in the evening, okay? So people are charging accordingly based on their city and the market rate. So the $2,000, I would say that's kind of more around the market rates for wedding day management kind of thing. And again, you'll have to explore different planners and what they offer within that, because even with wedding day management, it might be vastly different from the next coordinator, what they're doing for you for that day. So you kind of just have to compare and contrast what they're offering even, and how much they'll assist you up until the wedding day. And what is their experience level? That's huge. Planners that might just be starting out, they might be charging a little less because they're starting out and they want to get some weddings under their books, because face it, as wedding planners, how we get experience is referrals. I mean, people got to know who you are to want them to. Weddings is a huge day, and a wedding coordinator is the person that they're leaning on that day to handle things. So you got to have your name out there. So some people might be charging less to get their name out there. So, yeah.
Do you think, too, that cost could be low because some people are just going with coordination, like the month of coordination, or they're using mostly like family members or the friend or like somebody that was like, yeah, I'll help you plan your wedding. Is that probably why that cost is lower?
Well, I think that cost, it depends on the service. So if we're talking about full planning, I think that cost is definitely low. If we're talking about wedding day management, that's more of a reasonable price for that package. So you got to look at the package that you're asking for and the services you're looking for, because if somebody's charging less, and you want to get your market rates to see if they're charging less, if they're charging vastly less than everybody else, you need to ask questions why. What is your experience level? What are your reviews? Things like that. Because you always want to be in the middle, okay? You might not want to be too high. You might not be too low. My mom always says the saying of, it's expensive to be cheap. So you want to know why somebody might be way off the market rate, okay? So I would say look at that for why your wedding planner might be way off, if they are. But I would say that rate is it might be more around the wedding day management rates that I'm seeing for 2020.
My mom says something similar. She's not American. She says, good things not cheap and cheap things not good. Sounds a little different from her mouth, but that's what she said.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is true.
Yeah, so that rate seems a little low for full wedding management. And then a lot of wedding planners, depending on when I used to do planning, I would have an assistant for over a certain guest count. Mm. So to pay an assistant for the whole day, is going to be more than that. I mean, for two of y'all to live and eat and manage a rehearsal, go to the rehearsal, pack up your gifts at the end. Like, they'll list their services. And so you want to get the most services, best reviews for your money. And then the kind of planners who know you.
Right.
Because, I mean, let's be completely transparent. We're talking to Black brides or brides of color here. Some planners can manage Black guests that are not Black. And Black is a wide range because you have Caribbean Black, African Black, Southern Black, Northern Black, East Coast, West Coast Black. I mean, you have them from all over. And so some people can't manage your Black cousin and them. So you need to pick a planner who can. Right. Look through their portfolio, who are using diversity not as a marketing tool, but they can actually manage your Black family.
Right.
African Black, that's my family.
I mean, that was one of my selling points with some of my clients because they were Black and they saw me on Black. They were like, okay, cool. And then if they're Caribbean Black, I'm like, I understand that your cake is going to be different. Your aunt is going to make your cake. They're going to put it in little boxes and it's going to be alcohol cake. And your American husband and his family are not going to understand what that is. They're not going to like the taste of it. So this is what we're going to do. I understand, like, African weddings, there's Nigerian African, there's Ghanaian, there's all kinds of countries. They operate a lot differently. I've seen vendors confused as to why the wedding is starting late or why isn't everyone at the ceremony but everyone's at the reception. Because that's what we do.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the Nigerians do. That's what the Ghanaians do. My stepdad is Ghanaian. I know how it works.
Yeah.
The Liberians do. Shoot. Yeah. You don't go, you don't actually go to the ceremony, but you show up at the reception.
One of our brides that I talked to, Yinka, is Nigerian. She had a Nigerian Hindu American ceremony because her husband's Hindu. They're both, American, but wanted to represent all cultures. And so she didn't want, she said she had cousins and people coming up to her that were like, when's the Nigerian part? Or give me the order of things. And she was like, I don't know when it's going to happen. Because she was like, she don't want people to pick and choose,
which part.
What to come to.
Yeah,
they'll do that. So if your planner doesn't look like you need to make sure, because I have a friend, she's white, she's a really good planner. She is a paper person who writes down everything and keeps track of everything. She plans all kinds of weddings. She's very cool under pressure and she knows how to be firm when need be. So you don't necessarily have to pick a Black planner, but pick someone who's able to manage, your people.
Right.
And you may not know your husband's people, but he or your partner, to be, respectful. You know your partner's people, so find out what, the planner, if they can manage your people. Or you explain to them, say, hey, this is an Indian wedding. This is how we do it. It's going to be for 3 days. Drink water. Hydrate. This is a Nigerian wedding. Get your Snickers because it's going to be a while.
Right.
And make sure the venue knows. I mean, they're going to bring jollof rice. This is what we like to eat. This is how it's happening. My family had alcohol in the parking lot. That's what we do. And I knew it was going to happen because we had an alcohol-free wedding.
Yeah.
And they were outside. So, I mean, it's just going to happen. I mean, so so let that be part of your planner fees. They're going to understand, hey, you're going to have to manage my family because my uncle will get drunk, and this is what we're going to have to do. Cut him off at this time.
Right.
So you're going to have to pay for those extra services that your planner's going to... I mean, to be complete, I've done that. I've been there, done that. I'm not doing it again. But I know planners, they're like teachers. They don't get paid what they're worth. They work really hard to manage these adults of yours. So, pay them well and let them take care of the spreadsheets and the budgets and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. That's probably one of the most, higher fees after your caterer and photographer and all that planner. Just pay them whatever they say. Just pay them.
Go ahead and pay them.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of alcohol, let's talk about the reception bar and liquor costs.
Yeah. From this price, I already know that this is too low.
Oh yeah.
So $2,564, and I'm just like, what? We drinking cranberry juice with the lowest. Yeah, basically.
Unless they're a place where it's like a Costco, and you can bring your own and then take it back.
True.
Oh, you can't take it back. You can't take it back.
You can't
Oh,
take
you can't
Costco
take-
You
back?
can't return alcohol. It's illegal in Georgia.
In Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Oh.
tell my coworker that.
Even
We
at
were just having
Costco,
that
I
discussion
tried that.
yesterday.
I did try it, but I called before.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I used to bartend, so I know. But you cannot return alcohol.
Okay.
In Georgia.
Dang.
Wow. Good
So,
to know.
But you can buy. I mean, there's ways around it. If your venue does allow outside alcohol, you can buy wine at Trader Joe's. I had a bride give everyone a bottle of wine as the favor,
Mm-hmm.
and
I went to a wedding like that.
it all came from Trader Joe's, and so it was like $3 a bottle, or Aldi's $2.69.
Okay.
But yeah,
I love me some
And
Aldi's.
yeah, you can get you can get a little label, put it on there, call it a
That's
day.
exactly
It's
it.
cheaper than any.
Yeah.
I mean, they're big bottles, and people are like, yes, you know, and you can get rosé if you want to be cute and get
That's
pink,
exactly
you know.
you were calling out the exact favor I have. I haven't even opened it.
Are you feeling attacked here?
Right.
But that is something that you can definitely. I won't be doing that. That is something that you can, because I've done that for that client. She had 300 guests. Yeah.
Ooh.
But definitely that's something that you can think about with your alcohol cost. If they do allow you to bring alcohol, you can go to Costco and purchase alcohol, and you need to get the not business membership, but the higher level membership, so you can get some of that percentage back.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get your cups and glasses and everything, and you would just have to find a really good bartender who can mix that stuff and make it good.
Mm.
If your venue allows for outside alcohol. If they don't, then I think a good way to save money is to have a signature cocktail.
Just
For him
let
and
everybody
her.
drink that.
Drink that
Yeah.
and call it a day.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you could do.
Mm-hmm.
y'all don't drink,
Yeah, we really
so-
don't drink.
And the
so-
people who do that, somebody's like, well, we don't drink. Okay, well, everyone else does. Yeah.
True,
Right.
true, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, we don't drink, but everyone else does, and we definitely want everyone to have a good time.
And stay.
Right.
Yeah, and stay.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's like, oh.
yes.
Well, this
They
is
will,
nice.
they will, I'm telling you now, this is coming from back in the day, bartending, they will leave if the alcohol cuts off before the end of the reception. They will leave. If there's no alcohol, they will not stay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. You and your friends, yes. Your cousins, your coworkers, they're not going to stay.
Mm.
It happened to me. I know they were in the parking lot drinking outside, and they left. We didn't have alcohol. It was a Sunday afternoon. My dad was like, absolutely not. We didn't have alcohol, so they will leave. So keep that in mind, because I've had clients say we're gonna do 2-hour bar. Okay,
2?
yeah,
So one
Cocktail
for the
hour.
cocktail hour
and
one
one with
for
the drink with the meal, and that was it. They will leave. Courtney, what do you agree?
Yes. And I wanted to speak on my experience as a bride, because bartenders or even your caterer, they might give you a per consumption or a package, like a base price package deal where you pay this per person, or the per consumption route. I did the per consumption route. And when I look back now, I was like, why did I do that? Because our friends are drinkers, okay? They're huge drinkers. And we ran through our tabs, and we had to add on around $2K at the end of the night. So the brides really look at that, know your crowd, know the people that's coming in. Because if you got a drinking crowd, it might not be beneficial to you to do per consumption. You might end up paying more. You might want to look at the package deal. So then you know this is the flat rate I'm paying, boom, bam, it's done, okay? So, and you can even look at changing, if you want to make sure liquor there, you can try a signature drink route where you might have a bourbon mix and a Jack and Coke mix. If you really want liquor, but you don't want to have all the fixings, or you do wine and beer only. You should consider those type of things for your budget.
I went to a beer and wine wedding. I mean, they were young, like fresh out of college, but I mean that was fine. Like
Yeah.
they
They had alcohol.
every type of
Yeah.
beer or wine that they had Sweetwater and Bud Light and Corona and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It worked.
There's some
Okay.
other options too. There's a Prosecco van now they can pull up
Yeah.
or put in there. That's cute.
Oh.
So if you want to do wine, make it cute wine. So Prosecco is fun. I've seen different kinds of options for alcohol outside of the bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen mocktails when people really just don't want to have liquor. Maybe their family's religious and they're going to be judging you if you have that liquor there. So people are doing mocktails. I've seen that. So there's ways to get creative.
Gotcha. All right. Let's move on to the DJ.
Yes,
And
go
the band.
DJ.
The
That's
DJ,
my
the band, the
DJ.
musician, all that stuff. So,
Sorry, I had to do that.
all right, run down the entertainment cost, Toniah.
Okay, so first, let's go to the DJ. So DJ, $1,292. For the musicians, $797. And then for a reception band, $4,247. Yeah, I have no idea if these are right, but going by everyone else, I think this is probably low, on the lower end. I don't know. Not sure.
It depends on what the DJ is providing.
Oh, yeah, because lighting
some DJs are doing a little much. Because I heard one DJ do video. I'm like, what are you doing video? How?
Why?
How? But
set up the tripod.
Yeah, there's DJs who offer a lot, and then some offer a facade in front of their table.
Oh,
so they can be an added decor element. Mm-hmm. They can put your logo, your monogram in front of their DJ booth.
I've seen that. Yeah,
they'll have their own lighting system. They'll have like disco balls or like spotlighting on them, or like and then some DJs you're hiring them for their DJ name. So
okay.
So that's like where you're gonna spend to fly them out. They're the ones who have the custom headsets with the bling or different things. They may have just all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you might think, I need to be paying $100 an hour. You can find a DJ for $100 an hour. They may not specialize in weddings. That's a whole different kind of DJ. Yeah. A wedding DJ comes with microphones. They're going to cost more, but they'll have the microphones. They'll have the speakers. Mm-hmm. They have access to a complete DJ library because they have to download the music and pay for it.
Yeah.
Or pay monthly for that service.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're paying more for a wedding DJ, there's a reason why. Because they do weddings and they know about timelines. They know how to get the crowd from the ceremony space where they have to be. Mm-hmm. They know about cultural music. For different cultures. This ain't your club backyard barbecue DJ who only know, to the club. You can't play that with my grandma right here. Right. We're not doing that. Nuck if you, not tonight, or like later tonight.
I mean, we can play a little Nuck if you buck,
Who wants to hear the edited version of Nuck if you buck? It don't hit the same.
we got to do that at 10:30. Grandma. That's how they would know. My best friend got married and her DJ was Jamaican. Okay, she's not Jamaican. Her husband's not Jamaican. DJ, whatever his name was, decided to, when they walk out, sir, this is a whole wedding. We were laughing about this to this day. We were like, do you remember when that DJ? She was like, yes, that was my husband's friend from work. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, it wasn't bad, but I mean, he was trying to be fun. But they were walking out for their first dance, and he's like, give it up one time. I'm like, no, don't give it up one time. Welcome Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. Why are you doing that? Because he wasn't a wedding DJ.
Right.
Yeah.
He was a good DJ. He was dressed nicely. But I'm over there waving my hand like, stop. Don't do that no more. Mm-hmm. Can you cut that off? We know you like that Jamaican music, but nobody else in here is Jamaican. Cut that
Nobody's
off.
Dancing.
Yeah.
That's not the crowd. So
right.
That's why they're going to cost more. A wedding DJ knows come in a suit. He knows to bring his own table and linen. Mm-hmm. He comes, or he or she, because there's a lot of female DJs now.
Yeah.
They get no respect out here. But they need to, because they are just as good, if not better, for certain things.
That's true.
Right.
I met a lady who was in charge of a completely female DJ crew in Orlando.
Wow.
We'll shout them out later.
Okay.
But they are awesome. And so they may charge more.
Yeah.
You never know because of their notoriety in their crew and availability,
Yeah.
So.
Experience is everything.
Experience. Their experience. That's part of their mission statement is they build experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we talked to Mike Music, who's based out of New York, that was his thing. Like, creating experiences, really figuring out what people were truly like, not just going with songs that are trendy or just doing this because everyone does it. Like, you don't have to dance to Best Part because everybody danced to Best Part. what song means something to y'all in your relationship. So, but you do, like you were saying, like there are the DJs up the street where it's like $350 to book you for the night, and that's just extra $350 in his pocket. He don't care. Now he ain't bringing out a microphone, not an uplight, not anything else. But then you got the far end of the spectrum where it's a sole like entertainment company that's they're providing you the photo booth. They're providing you like you can have the option between the white booth or the black booth. The white booth could have, like you were saying, your logo on it, or like a rotating like photo like slideshow of you. Like I saw that somewhere and I was like, why?
Yeah.
Or like stands with monitors that have the slideshows go. Why do you need that here? But like some people want that. Somebody wants that aesthetic, and they might be fine with paying $5,000, $7,000 for that.
Yeah.
And is your DJ mobile? That's what I'm always asking. Because your DJ, he needs to be at the ceremony. Can he set up at cocktail hour? Does he have multiple speakers, or is he going to be running around trying to move his whole set? Things like that brides need to consider. And they're your MC for the night. Are they good at being an MC? Are they good with flow? Are they going to awkwardly having you dance for 6 minutes through the whole song that you picked? You know? Things you got to really look at and consider when you're paying for some of these DJs. You know, the MC piece is huge for me, okay? Huge. Because I had a friend, she told me that the DJ was over the mic saying, somebody please bring me a plate. You don't want that to happen at your wedding.
Include that in your timeline.
Right.
You don't want that to happen at your wedding. They are the holder of the mic, okay?
Oh my god.
Yo, somebody bring me a plate.
Oh my gosh. I've been to weddings where the DJ either played the wrong song or called out the wrong person, or like completely forgot a member of the bridal party. And it's like, that can, granted, everybody makes mistakes, but that can kind of change the kind of mood at that point. Don't have a DJ where he just playing music and nobody's dancing. That's on you.
Yeah, or play what they like to hear.
Right.
And I know some DJs who are from certain parts of town, and that's what they play. And like, I will not refer them. I don't have time for that. You play what the client asks for.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole conversation you're supposed to have. They should be meeting with you as well. They should be sending you timelines and different things and like songs. What do you want to hear when so-and-so walks out?
Exactly.
How do I say this person's name? Don't spell your friend's name the way you spell it legally. Sometimes just spell it phonetically.
Like graduation.
Yeah, so that they can say it, because we're Black. I mean, we have unique names. That's part of being Black. That's our culture. We have unique names, and sometimes we have African names or, specific name. Yeah, there's a Y, but you don't say it like that.
Yeah.
Like my name has a capital N. You're never going to see that, but it has a capital N in the middle. Why? I don't know. But don't call me Leneille. It's Leneille. Not Leneille. But when I spell it, I put Laneel.
Yeah.
I do that a lot. So go ahead and give your DJ some, credit. Just give him what he or she needs to get through this wedding. Like you said, like Courtney said, he or she is your MC.
Right.
That's a separate fee for that probably. But, because you can hire an MC as well. But, just keep that in mind. That's why they charge what they charge. They're managing the flow of the night.
That's real.
And I guess we can say the same thing with the musicians and the band.
We ain't really...
We didn't really touch on them, but
we're not really also getting bands. Like every now and then, a cover band.
I have Black brides getting bands. I have one this year. Yes. It's a Black brand. And Grits and Jelly Butter. They're awesome.
Grits and Jelly Butter. Yeah.
I was about to say, never mind. I did want Grits and Jelly Butter.
Yeah, they're very popular.
You did. Don't forget about that. And I've seen them in person. They're really good too. I'm giving a shout out to them right now.
No, but I don't, like you said, I don't see bands often from Black brides. Not to say that I seen an event the other day. They had Orchestra Noir, and they can play.
I just heard about that.
Yeah. Shout out Southwest Cab.
Okay.
But yeah. So that's another aspect of entertainment. Just thinking outside the box, but they're gonna cost because they do have like 10 plus people with them.
Yeah. They're kind of deep.
Yeah. So if somebody's gonna have to feed them,
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice. You don't have to, but it's a nice gesture.
Oh, they're gonna be at City Winery April 30th.
Okay.
Not random at all.
No, but I kind of like the idea.
We're gonna go. We're going.
Right.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening.
No, but I like the idea of a band. So
I like bands are good. But sometimes weddings I see both.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna have a band, most time they have the band and the DJ.
Yeah.
And they take breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard that. With the band, you got to consider the setup. They take a lot of hours to set up to get all their stuff ready. And then there's other people outside of the band that might just be there for the electronical piece going on behind the scenes, all that stuff. So that's what you got to consider. And like I said earlier, you might have 10, 12 people to feed just out of the band. And bands, they price themselves accordingly. You got to pay them because some of them, they're traveling all over the United States. A lot of them have these booking agencies that sending them all over the place. So you might be having those travel fees included. Just things to consider about band. But I love bands. They get people dancing. The DJs do too. So it's kind of just like what you kind of want, what kind of flow you want that night. But I do have black brides in bands. Don't sleep on it.
All right, y'all. Don't sleep on the bands. All right, so next we're going to get into hairstylists, makeup artists, and the overall attire for the bride and groom.
Okay. So hairstylist, $123 for a black girl. That's too low, to be honest, because I think I pay
You
like
need an install.
Yeah. I mean, just a regular appointment for me is, well, for a natural hair girl, it's like 160, 180.
Why?
What?
Where are you going?
Listen, she's amazing at what she does. You know, I get the whole,
okay.
Extra conditioning, the little steam and then the trim. I mean, I don't go to her all the time, but, anyways, that's besides the point. A makeup artist, $102. And then...
102.
Yes, $102. And then, what else did you say? Attire. The attire, $2,164. So your dress is probably like $400. And then, because it says including wedding dress, groom's attire, and accessories. So
you said dress is $400. Where did you arrive at that with all this other stuff? Groom's attire. How much you think he has written a tux? Okay.
Okay, maybe your dress is probably like $1,000, and then
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Black makeup artists charge way more than $100.
They sure do.
Exactly.
They don't even start that low.
No, that might be for a bridesmaid. You can get 75 to 100, maybe 75, 80. But and then you have to ask those questions. Does it include? I've had my friends are makeup artists.
Does it include lashes?
Well, yeah, does it include lashes? Which makes, because my friends are makeup artists, a lot of them, and they're like, I've had people come, can I just get eyes, lips, and cheeks? She's like, well, what else? What else is left? Forehead? I don't know.
The neck.
Yes. So you need to figure out who's paying for the bridal party makeup.
Yes.
And hair. Well, most for black brides, I've noticed everyone comes with their hair done from wherever they come from.
Yeah,
they get their hair done.
Mm-hmm.
They may have the makeup, the hairstyles for the bride just doing like curls or the pins. Yeah. I've noticed with other cultures, white weddings, they have hair and makeup artists that do the same job. So they're looking for hair and makeup teams, right?
Yeah.
Black brides are looking for we like a nice firm line. Mm-hmm. Hair people and makeup people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's what I noticed. I don't know. And makeup artists charge way more than that, and then you need to pay. Everyone needs to pay for it in advance.
Yeah,
at least the deposits. Mm-hmm. And so you tell your planner. I don't know who's in charge of the timeline for the makeup artists and stuff, but that's another timeline service for your planner
very true.
To do the hair and makeup part of it, and then sometimes you have to start really early, like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
and so they're gonna cost more. Yeah.
Right, depending on the
time of the wedding
and the size of your bridal party and like how many
makeup artists you have to bring.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't believe in 30-minute makeup. Okay, I haven't seen it done in any wedding I was in. I believe in an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. When somebody names that, that's a comfortable timeline for me.
Yeah, that seems about the same to me. So your hair and makeup is going to cost more than $100. Ask your girls, can they afford to pay it? Or if you're gifting them that, let them know that, as soon as you can, so that they don't have to stress out. Or say, this is who I'm going with my makeup. You can use this person, and then we're going to need your deposit in advance so that we can add you to the timeline and get it all organized.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that didn't even consider trials. That's a whole separate fee.
Yeah.
Yep. And thinking about the attire part, they didn't, I don't think, or maybe they did include alterations.
No, they didn't.
So
no, they didn't. No.
Because one of the dresses I looked at was like $2,400. So that's already, they don't even take into account alterations.
Exactly.
What it's going to wear anything else. So
yeah.
I mean, because the other vendors were like invitations. I mean,
don't do them.
Yeah, no.
I mean, not trying to stay the stationaires because they are serious about theirs. $386 seems to be
that's very low.
Very
low. Yeah.
And that's just invitations. That's not any other paper goods. That's not programs or table. That's nothing. Wedding day transportation at $856. Cake baker at $528. Officiant at $286.
The cake baker seems about right. You should start at $5 to $6 a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
I told y'all how much mine.
No.
My cake gonna be $150.
Oh yeah, that's those cupcake. You have cupcakes or cake? Oh yeah,
no, it's
cake.
A cake.
It's a cake,
but they're called cupcake people.
That's extremely rare. That's way cheaper than Publix. Sorry, that's way cheaper than the big grocery store here in Atlanta. That's way cheaper than them because I tried, and they were still telling me $4 a slice. So I was like, well, I might as well take my business to another place.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bakers, think about $5 to $6 a slice, and then don't think that you can do the faux cake and the sheet cake in the back.
Right.
It ends up coming out the same price in my experience. You might as well just do the sheet cake in the back then, and just have your serve petit fours. I've had clients do that. If you're not a cake person, prioritize your wedding. You don't have to get a cake. If you're not a cake person, don't feel forced to get a cake. Do something different. Go outside the box.
Yeah.
Good idea. So listen, you don't need a cake. You could do tart, creme brulee, cake pops, whatever. Pies.
Oh, I like that
I love
idea.
a good pie. Give me a pecan pie. All right.
This conversation was fun.
To me, it's like wrap it up.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
don't get me on cheesecake, but yes.
Oh, cheesecake.
Yeah. I'm gonna have that at my wedding, at my future wedding. Yes.
That tracks. Yes, this was a real good breakdown of what everything costs, all the things to consider. Like, I feel like this is an episode that if you're not engaged, you need to listen to. You just got engaged. Listen to this one first before you make any decisions, anything.
Yeah.
Let your mamas listen to it, your daddies, if they're helping pay for stuff. And
have your fiance listen to it as well.
Yeah, whoever is contributing to the wedding, listen to this episode and then make your decisions because realistically, you know nothing.
Basically, because I didn't.
You really don't.
I mean, look, I learn as I go. But so we're gonna move straight into the wedding vendor shout outs. I don't have no advice. This whole episode was a load of advice for you. If you weren't taking notes, you're stupid. So
she didn't really mean that, y'all.
Just kidding.
Okay, so Courtney, what vendor do you have?
My vendor is Vanessa Photo 89. That's her Instagram. Her name is Vanessa Clifton. She's a storytelling photographer. I know her personally from college. So I just wanted to shout her out because I've always loved her imagery, and she's just a really good photographer. So I wanted to shout her out.
Awesome. I'll go next. My vendor is somebody I also went to college with. She's a makeup artist based in Atlanta, but I know she travels. She's done a lot of makeup for a lot of celebrities like Phaedra, Portia, you know, one of the Harvey twins, Steve Harvey's daughters. I think she even did her makeup for her wedding, but her name is Yaya, Unique Downer. Her Instagram is Yaya Beats Face, and she's everywhere, like Instagram. I mean, she's even been like on a few episodes of Real Housewives of Atlanta, like doing somebody's makeup. But yeah, that's Yaya or Unique. She's cool folks. So that's my shop vendor for this week. Leneille.
My vendor recommendation would be Robin's Nest Design Studio. I really like Robin. She's a stationaire. A lot of people forget about the art of stationery design, and I am a very old-fashioned person. I love printed invitations. I love calligraphy. I love everything custom. So when it comes to a wedding, because you can keep a few of those pieces and put it in a
frame,
a frame, and enjoy it later on. So Robin's Nest Design Studio, she is an African-American stationery designer based in the Milton Alpharetta area, but she can ship invitations and stationery, all sorts of stationery, nation and worldwide.
Okay. Let's see. So this week I have Michael. Of course, I met him in college, and so he is. I feel like he is a videographer, but then also he's a photographer. He's based out here in Atlanta. You can find him on IG at Media Lifted Films, and that's MEDIALIFTEDFILMS. I don't know why I just spelled all that out, but yes, he is amazing what he does. He does a lot of events around here in Atlanta. I'm not quite sure if he travels, but definitely go online. So that's about it. Leneille, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Special Event Factory or on my website, www.specialeventfactory.com. And yes, we are on Facebook as well, and Pinterest, Special Event Factory.
Okay. Courtney, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at The Charming Details, and on my website, thecharmingdetails.com. All my handles are the same. If you probably Google The Charming Details, it'll come up, Courtney Jackson.
Very nice. Of course, you can always find us on hueido.com. You can find us also on IG, Facebook, Twitter, and then also LinkedIn. That's new. And of course, you can always follow Ashleigh at Demitosh on Twitter and on Instagram. And you can find me at Belsorie on Instagram and on Twitter. This was great, guys. We had so much fun talking to you all.
I had such a blast. I love talking about weddings and letting people know about the importance of prioritizing their wedding, making it important to them.
Yes.
Yes, and I just hope that all brides walk away from this feeling a little bit better and confident about their wedding budget. I had an amazing time chatting about all the different vendors and what we kind of see day to day on the planner side.
Thank you so much. We learned a lot. Hopefully you guys learned a lot, and you all took some notes. I know when I go back to listen to this, I'm definitely going to take notes because there's a lot of information, and it was packed, but it was definitely needed. So yeah, thank you so much again. Bye-bye.